Emmerdale viewers have come up with a new theory about Serena Sugden, believing the latest arrival could secretly be working as a journalist. Serena Sugden only joined the ITV soap a few weeks ago, but she has already become one of the show's most talked about newcomers. Portrayed by Casey Al-Shaksi, Serena arrived in the village as a distant member of the Sugden family, introduced as the granddaughter of Jack Sugden's cousin. After revealing she was struggling without a home or a job, Serena reached out to her relatives for support. Sarah Sugden welcomed her into her home, while Moira Dingle offered her a position behind the bar at the Woolpack after hearing about the challenges she had been facing. Although she quickly settled into village life, Serena's behavior has recently begun raising eyebrows. She has repeatedly questioned residents about her late cousin John Sugden, a serial killer she once knew, as well as his victim, Nate Robinson. In Friday's episode, Serena once again tried to gather information while chatting to Moira Dingle at the Woolpack, steering the conversation towards Nate's death. Moira immediately sensed something was off and refused to answer Serena's questions. Instead, she became defensive and walked away, leaving Serena without the answers she was seeking. Fans wasted no time sharing their suspicions online, with many suggesting Serena is hiding her true purpose in the village. One viewer wrote that they believed Serena was secretly a journalist. Another agreed, pointing out that she keeps asking detailed questions and somehow already knew about Nate's fate. Other fans also questioned Serena's motives, with one saying she seemed to have an agenda because she never stopped digging for information. Another suggested her ability to adapt to different situations made her seem like someone working undercover, just as an investigative reporter might. A further fan speculated that Serena is either researching John Sugden for a news story or gathering material for a book about him. The speculation comes after producer Laura Shaw teased that Serena will play a major role in future storylines. She explained that the Sugden family remains central to Emmerdale, and said Casey's character will become involved in dramatic and unexpected events, facing difficult decisions that will have significant consequences for several well-known villagers. Casey Al-Shaksi also shared her excitement about joining the long-running soap, describing Serena as a fascinating character with many hidden layers. She added that she is eager for viewers to discover everything that lies ahead for her on screen. Ross faces a deadly trap as Mac's fury reaches breaking point in upcoming Emmerdale scenes. Mackenzie Boyd's simmering resentment towards Ross Barton finally explodes in upcoming episodes, leaving his former friend in a life-threatening situation. Mac's life was turned upside down after Moira Dingle admitted she had once slept with Ross and later gave birth to his child. She also revealed the traumatic truth that she had been blackmailed and sexually assaulted by Dr. Todd. Despite feeling deeply hurt by the revelations, Mac chose to stand beside Charity and support her as the police continue building their case against the corrupt surgeon. Speaking about where Mac and Charity's relationship currently stands, Lawrence Robb explained that the couple are doing their best to hold things together, even though neither has had time to properly process everything. He suggested Mac has thrown himself into protecting Charity instead of confronting his own emotions, adding that Sarah and Jacob are still unaware of the truth. He hinted that their eventual discovery is inevitable, although exactly when it happens and what the consequences will be remains in the hands of the show's writers. One issue Mac has found especially difficult is acting as though nothing has changed whenever Ross is around. Rob said Mac feels completely betrayed by his former friend. Their friendship had grown much stronger, making it even harder for Mac to accept that Ross had kept the secret about Layla from him. While Mac can better understand Charity's actions because of his love for her, he finds Ross's deception far more difficult to forgive. According to the actor, Mac's anger is driven less by the affair itself and more by the painful truth surrounding Layla's biological father. As a new week begins in the village, Mac can no longer keep his emotions under control. He persuades Ross to meet him at a barn on Emmerdale Farm under the pretense of helping with some work. In a newly released spoiler clip, Ross quickly realizes something feels wrong. Mac appears perfectly capable of moving the bags on his own, prompting Ross to question why he was called there in the first place. Mac insists he simply wanted an excuse for the two of them to spend some time together, saying they hardly see each other anymore. Even so, the awkward atmosphere leaves Ross feeling increasingly uneasy. Before long, Mac finally unleashes his fury and confronts Ross over everything that has happened between them. The explosive showdown takes place on the barn's mezzanine level, where one forceful shove could send Ross crashing over the edge. Ross is ultimately left fighting for his life, but whether he survives the terrifying ordeal remains to be seen. Ross Barton is left shaken after receiving a sinister warning as danger closes in during Emmerdale. Ross Barton found himself facing a disturbing threat during Thursday's double episode, hinting that serious trouble is just around the corner. For weeks, Mackenzie Boyd has been carrying the painful secret that baby Layla is actually Ross's biological daughter. Ever since learning the truth, Mac has struggled to hide his growing resentment towards the man he once considered a close friend. At the same time, Kev Townsend has been attempting to strengthen his relationship with his son, Lewis Barton, who recently agreed to give his biological father another opportunity. Ross and Lewis's business partner, Nicola King, remain deeply suspicious of Kev and are determined to drive him out of the village before he causes more problems. During the latest episode, Lewis and Nicola arrived at the cafe to discover it had been broken into and ransacked. As they searched for the person responsible, they became convinced Kev was behind the burglary and set out to prove it. When the pair confronted him, Kev firmly denied having anything to do with the break-in, insisting he had never gone anywhere near the cafe. Their suspicions only grew after the missing cash box was discovered inside Kev's trailer. However, Kev argued that Ross had framed him, although Lewis refused to believe his explanation. Following the confrontation, Kev urged Lewis to decide who deserved his trust, asking whether he would believe his father or Ross and Nicola. The truth later emerged that Ross and Nicola had deliberately planted the evidence in an attempt to force Kev out of the village. When Ross returned home, he found Kev waiting for him inside. Kev made it clear that he knew exactly who had orchestrated the setup and demanded Ross admit the truth to Lewis. He warned that he had already tried to resolve the situation peacefully and would not offer another chance. Before the episode ended, Kev took things a step further by using Mac's anger towards Ross to deliver an unsettling warning. Kev told Ross that he knew his secrets and reminded him that several people in the village despised him. He warned that sooner or later those enemies would come after him, leaving Ross with nowhere to hide. The threat becomes even more significant in next week's episodes when Mac persuades Ross to meet him at a barn. What begins as a heated exchange quickly turns physical as tempers spiral out of control. Lawrence Robb explained that the confrontation escalates into a struggle before Mac shoves Ross over the edge of the barn. According to the actor, Mac never intended to kill Ross, but he did want him to suffer. Believing he had achieved that, Mac leaves the scene, unaware of the consequences that could follow. Emmerdale is broadcast on ITV1 and ITVX on weekday evenings at 8 p.m.